Welcome to Mary Walter Radio. It's good to see everyone tonight. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. If you subscribe to the channel on YouTube or you follow me on Rumble, thank you so much. Also on Getter, thank you, thank you, thank you. Please don't forget to subscribe if you have not done so. Please like the podcast. Please give it a thumbs up. That would be fantastic. I appreciate that very, very much. And thank you all for being here. Thank you to Zach, our number one fan, and thank you to his dad, EB, who does all my graphics for me. That is wonderful. I really appreciate everything that EB does for us. So thank you so much. So our guest tonight is Todd Starnes, who's not here yet. And there's a time difference. And this has happened before, even though I texted him and reminded him. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. I text him. Maybe I should call him. Should I call him live on the air and ask him where he is? Maybe I'll do that. Let me just call him and see where he is. We'll see what happens. Let's see what happens. I hope he answers his phone. He's not answering his phone. Hi, Todd. It's Mary, and I'm the crew at Mary Walter Radio. Waiting for you to join us on the podcast. So I sent you the invite. I texted you. You're late. I hope it's not the time difference. Bye. So he's not there. So I don't know. Anyway, we'll talk about that. But I just want to let everybody know that Todd does have a new book out. Here it is. Let me bring it up. This is his book, Star Spangled Blessings, Devotions for Patriots. Todd does the best books. They're very fun. They're very easy reads, which is why I like them. And Todd hasn't been on the show, hasn't been here. Gosh, he was on February of last year, so February 2024. So it's been almost a year and a half. And when he was on last time, and I hate to pump this up too much because if he doesn't show, it's going to be a big letdown. But anyway, he did. We had a lot of fun with Todd. We just had a lot of fun with Todd. We got talking about all these other things. We were talking about his design choices. He bought a rug for his living room, and turns out that it was not what he thought it was. He thought it was a beautiful fleur-de-lis design, and it turned out that it was a Muslim prayer rug. And the beautiful fleur-de-lis design that he had on his rug was like Muslim words, like the Arabic writing around the edge. So he has a big Muslim prayer rug in his his room, right in the middle of his living room, which I thought was hilarious. So there's that. So we'll find out more from him if he shows up. Okay, so my shirt. Do you see my shirt? I stay in New Jersey. You stay in New York. I wore this for Mamdani because when Mamdani has his way, everyone is going to be coming across into New Jersey. They already have, and they're going to come in droves. So, and on the back, if you don't know what this means, can you see this? I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that? It says Benny go home. So in New Jersey, in New Jersey, when you go to the shore, which I live at the shore, but when you go to the beach, if you live at the shore, if you're inland and you go to the beach, you go to the shore rather. If you're from North Jersey, you're called a Benny. If you're from New York or North Jersey, you're called a Benny. If you're in South Jersey at the shore, they call you a Shoobie because that means you're from Philadelphia and they call you a Shoobie. And they're called Shoobies because they used to come to the shore for the day. They leave Philadelphia, they get out of the hot city, they go to the Jersey Shore, and they would bring their lunch in their shoebox. And so they were called Shoobies because their lunch was in their shoebox. We call them Bennies for two different reasons. One of them, the original intent, I think, was the stops on the train coming down from New York: Bayonne, Elizabeth, Newark, New York, Benny. So that's going. Bayonne, Elizabeth, Newark, New York is going home. So those are the stops on the train. And other people say now that it is because they come for the benefits, but they don't pay any of the taxes and they don't do any of the cleanup of the beaches. They just come down and crap everything up and then leave. So, and I'm sure wherever you happen to vacation, if you have a lake or whatever it is, you know what I'm talking about. Down in, there's a place in Virginia called Smith Mountain Lake. And we had friends who moved down there before it became trendy, before they really developed that area. And they called them DC dandies because they would all come out of DC and they would go down to Virginia, to Southwest Virginia, down by Roanoke, and they would go to Smith Mountain Lake. And they have their big boots on the lake and they call them DC dandies. So, all right. Also, just a programming note, we're having really, really, really bad storms, tornado warnings, flood warnings, all this stuff going through here. So if we lose power, you're going to lose me for about 5 minutes. No, excuse me, 10 seconds, 5 minutes, the heck, 10 seconds. And then we'll come back. So the lights will go out, but the stream should hold. We do have a generator because I live at the Jersey Shore. And after Sandy, everybody has a generator. And so you just may lose me for a hot second. All right. So anyway, so I wore this for Ma'am Donnie in out of New York. That's my ode to Ma'am Donnie, is my I stay in New Jersey, you stay in New York shirt, which I've had for quite some time. Because when you live around here, we're always saying it. Go back home, go home, go home. All right. So since Todd is nowhere to be found, I luckily brought some stories just in case, because when you have a guest who's in a different time zone, that doesn't always compute. I guess those of us who live on the East Coast, who live in the Eastern time zone, we're really super spoiled because we don't have to do the math in our heads. Like you don't have to. And I've always wondered, like, is the 5 on Fox on at 3 on Mountain Time? Is that how that works? So it's not really the 5, it's at 3? Or do they delay it and play it at 5? Your time. I don't know. All right, before we get into this, because there's so much to get to, I do have a lot of stories. Bill is here. Suze is here. Hey, Suze. Oh, by the way, I will be in for Rich Zioli on PHT on Thursday because Rich doesn't want to work for the holidays. I think he's taking Thursday off. He may be taking all week off. I don't know. They didn't ask me. So he may be taking all week off. And then I will be in for Rich Zioli. I didn't even have anything to drink with dinner. Rich Zioli, I'll be in for him on PHT Tuesday as Monday or Tuesday? Monday? Yeah, one of the day after the 4th, which because the 4th is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So Monday, the 7th, I'll be in for him then, right? That's the 7th. Yeah, the 7th. So I'll be in for him on the 7th. So that's 3 to 7 on PHT. You can look it up. It's an Odyssey station. You can listen online if you'd like. 3 to 7. It's a really long show. I don't understand why it's so long. It's like an unnecessary extra hour. I don't know, but they do. They do an unnecessary extra hour. And I will be on Chris Salcedo's show on Monday as well. That's on Newsmax TV between 4 and 5 p.m. And then every now and then I pop up, like I was on Good Wake Up America yesterday morning, 7:30, and on Newsmax as well. So, but I always post it. You can follow me on X at Mary Walter Radio. I have Facebook. I don't really use Facebook that much anymore, but I do have a professional page on Facebook. There's a group on Facebook. If you choose join the group, you're going to get some questions in your messages. You're going to get questions you have to answer. So please try to do that because we don't let you in until you answer the questions. All right. So listen to this. Like some of this stuff isn't getting any play in the news and it's driving me crazy. And some of these we'll talk about as we go. And so some of the comments from Rumble are coming across. Yes. Oh, I love it when a plan comes together. Oh, fantastic. Okay. Let's see. Yitzhak says, okay, so back to Islam and Islamism. Can Yuval come on and tell us? So if you don't know what he's talking about, last week my guest was a great guy named Yuval David. And he's an Emmy award-winning actor and producer, but he's also, this part of his life has grown in that the activism part of his life has grown. He is an LGBT activist. He doesn't go with the rest of it. He just goes like the LGB. I don't even think he does the T. But so he's just like LGB and activist and an Israel activist. So we had a really interesting discussion last week, and you can go back and watch it. The audio is on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Spreaker. So you can go back and watch it. And he just did a great, he's really, really smart. And he was so insightful. And he really went into the difference between Muslim, Islam, and Islamism. Whereas Islamism, not all Muslims are Islamists. Like 25% of Muslims are Islamists, and those are the ones who believe that, the Intifada should be global, from the river to the sea, and they want to wipe everybody out except them. If you're not Muslim, they want to get rid of you. So it was just a super, super interesting conversation. So if you have time and you go back and you can watch that. Yitzhak was very active during that. Let's see. He says the jihad comes in many forms. Yes. All the New Yorkers emptying into New Jersey. Rob Dog 51 says Patterson, New Jersey ain't much better. So true. Patterson, was a thriving in North Jersey. There's this big city called Patterson, and they were in the silk trade. Like they had this big, huge factory or factories where they made lace and silk garments and silk material. And it was big and it was thriving, and they built housing for the workers there. And then of course that all shut down, and they did, they kind of went down, and it became, it fell into, I think, a depression type thing. And the people there, had to make it work. And then it became very Hispanic. It was very, very Hispanic. It was Black, and then it became Hispanic, and now it's Muslim. Like it's deep, deep, deep Muslim. And they even raised the Palestinian flag in Patterson. Oh my gosh, he's here. Time to lay it on, Todd.
Oh, Mary. I'm so sorry. I'm very tardy.
At least you're not an hour late, so it could be worse.
It could be. My apologies.
No worries, no worries. I did get some news stories to talk about, just in case, because when I have people from other time zones, I now know to always have some news stories to discuss, because oftentimes they're like, "Oh, it's 5 o'clock where I am." I'm like, "Awesome, it's 7:30 here." So. But we're talking about. I said I wore my shirt. I don't know if you could see it. I stay in New Jersey. You stay in New York.
I love this.
It's my anti-New York T-shirt, but I bought it years ago, and I popped it out in honor of Mamdani, because he's going to drive all these people into my state, which is going to drive this state further into the ground, as if it's not already on a slippery slope. So
yeah.
So that's why I wore my shirt.
It's interesting. We were having literally an explosive debate on Newsmax, my Newsmax show this evening, and we had a left versus right panel. And Mary, it was just insane. The leftist went completely bonkers. Had to cut her microphone off because she wouldn't stop. But the problem is that the Democrats realize they're in hot water with this guy because he really does represent what I truly believe to be now the base of the Democrat Party.
Yeah, we were just talking about this. A guest that I had on last week on the podcast was fascinating. You should probably have him on your show. His name is Yuval David. I don't know if you've heard of him. And he's an Emmy award-winning actor and producer, but he's become very active in the LGB space. He doesn't do the rest of the letters. LGB rights activist, but he's also an Israeli rights activist, and he's so smart. Like he's just so well versed and so well educated in what's happening. And it was just a fascinating comment about, and I started using the term now, they're not Muslims, they're Islamists. And you can't conflate the two. Islamists are about 25% of Muslims. And it's like an illegal alien versus a legal alien. They're not the same thing, right? And so Islamists are not the same as Muslims. So super interesting conversation.
And again, even if that were the case, and I think I would disagree with that, but that's 120 million Islamists out. That's a lot of people that want to blow us up. So, it's a difficult situation. But again, I think for me, the issue is, okay, so you want to get rid of the billionaires. Well, what's the limit? How much are people actually allowed to make? How successful are people going to be allowed to be in New York City before they're punished under whatever rules and regulations, this guy wants to impose? But I'm not really sure they've really thought all this out, Mary. And then when you when look at the fact the guy's never held a job. He's the son of multimillionaires, the Ivy League professor at Columbia, and the mother's a filmmaker. I mean,
Private school that now costs like 60 grand, 67 years later. It's like a college tuition. So, it was the
yeah,
same thing when he was there. Yeah.
exactly. Was it Bowdoin College in Maine?
Yep.
I don't know
Yep.
what they're teaching those kids.
But it tracks. And this is what they do on the left. AOC, Sandy, who used to be Sandy, now she's Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and you have to say it like that for whatever reason. When you pronounce a Hispanic name, you have to sound like you're from Tijuana when you say it. We don't do that for Asian names. We don't do that for German names. We don't do that for Italian names. But for whatever reason, when we say Hispanic names, you have to say Tijuana. You have to say it like you're from there for some whatever reason. But she's the same. Oh, she's from the hood. She's from the Bronx. She grew up in Westchester. Sandy grew up in Westchester. She went to private school. Come on. So everything the Democrats do is performative. Their ideas don't sell. So they lie to you about who they are, because I can relate to you. I'm just like you. And they're not. And he lives in a $2 million condo or townhouse. It's got to be a condo because I don't think there's townhouses, but condo in Chelsea, in the Chelsea section of New York, very trendy. And so he's over there. It's it's the west side, not Midtown, but just south of Midtown, and in a $2 million condo. And like you said, he's never worked. And I've asked people online, I said, so, well, what are his qualifications for running the largest city in the country? Well, he's got great ideas and he's really nice. I'm like, okay, well, he's charismatic. He's charismatic and very nice. I go, so is Jeffrey Dahmer. I'm not quite sure what your point is there. So
Sweet Lord. I tried that. I went to Taco Bell a couple of days ago, and I don't know why it was the whiteness in me. I'm like, yes, I'd like a gordita supreme and a Coca-Cola.
Exactly.
Like, dude, what's going on here?
They were also like, you've been banned from coming here because the last time I talked to you in February of 24, you were telling us all about your diet. So remember you were doing protein and all that stuff?
Yeah, way too much protein. I hate to do this. I've got to switch. I'm switching.
Okay. Are you in a hotel?
This is my condo.
Oh, you're in a condo. Okay. Oh, are we in your bedroom, Todd?
No, actually, you're in my...
Show us the rug. Show us the rug.
So this is my Muslim prayer rug.
Wait, but where's the writing on it?
Well, I'm not going to walk all the way. I'm not going to show the writing. It may like trigger somebody or something. I don't want to trigger anybody.
Okay, well, that's how we started this whole conversation. Is I said, so when Todd, I wanted to pick up with Todd, and he's not here about his latest decorating, because the last time he went out and decorated, he bought a Muslim prayer rug instead of an actual rug for his living room.
True, this is true.
True. All right. We'll come back to this, but I want you to tell us. Hold on. Tell us about. I've got rid of it, so let me bring it back because I didn't think you were going to show up. Tell us about your book, Star Spangled Blessings.
So I'm excited about this. I co-wrote it with a dear friend of mine. Her name is Michelle Cox, and we've written 2 books together. And this is a fun, inspirational devotion book, and it is for American patriots. It's not political at all, but it just tells stories about how God has blessed America and how God has really used some very unusual people along the way to accomplish, great things in this country. And it was a fun book to write. It's a 40-day devotion. And of course, Mary, Michelle, and I are both Southerners, so we have to throw in some pretty fun recipes as well.
Of course, all very healthy, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Fingers crossed. Huh.
No, but you're a very prolific writer, and then you go on tour. Do you come to the East Coast at all? You come in like Philly or New York or anything?
Well, yeah, we were in DC. I was in DC over the weekend, and
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. Well, actually, you know what? It's not as bad. I mean, Trump is really doing a lot to clean up, DC. So there wasn't a lot of the homeless out there, but it was that we had a great time. I was at the Faith and Freedom Coalition's big event, the Road to the Majority Conference, and gave a speech there. Had a lot of fun. Met a lot of our listeners around the country, and we just had a really good time.
Oh, well, that does sound fun. That is nice. As long as you can, You don't have to worry about getting killed. See, this is one of the reasons I won't go into New York is I don't have time to fill out the police report, so for the
Yeah, yeah.
inevitable when it happens. So, all right, good. Well, I wanted to talk about, because first of all, where do you get your ideas for your books? Because you write them all, they all have a Southern twist to them.
Yeah.
They're all very patriotic. And I'm amazed that you keep coming up with new angles and new ideas. I mean, are you on ADD, not on your meds? What's going on?
Yeah, pretty much. They've got me. I think my radio show, we endorse every drug product out there, so I'm just hopped up. Uh, but look, they pay well, and apparently, my audience loves drugs. I grew up reading Irma Bombeck and
Yes.
also a guy named Louis Grizzard, who was a great Southern historian. Or a Southern comedian, and he wrote a lot of books back in the day, and just funny titles. And his books, he actually had a heart condition. Louis Grizzard did. He was the sports editor at the time for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, which we now call the Urinal and Constipation, the big paper there. And Lewis he wrote books like Don't Bend Over in the Garden, Granny, Them Taters Got Eyes. He wrote a book called Elvis is Dead and I Don't Feel So Good Myself. So so I was really inspired by that style of writing and the humor of Southern humorists like Jerry Clower, for example. Those were some of the writing heroes that I had as a child growing up.
Okay, when I was a kid, I loved reading Irma Bombeck. I just thought she was hilarious. And it's so funny because I
Yeah.
was a kid reading it, as you were as well. And here I am. This is back in the day when there was a newspaper and her column ran, right? You read it. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
I got her book. I probably was like the only second grader that got her book. The Grass is Always Greener Over the Septic Tank, which
Yeah.
I thought was hilarious because we had a septic tank and the grass was greener over the septic tank. So, here I am in like second grade writing about, I had to do a book report. So I did it on that. And I'm sure my teacher was like, you're like a 40-year-old in a 12-year-old's body. What happened to you?
It's
thought
true.
she
It's
was
true.
great.
But that's so, I just kind of look at life and, if something strikes me as funny or unusual, sometimes I'll just, come up with a punchline and just look for the column to use that punchline in. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but we try to have a lot of fun when I write. I
Oh,
love it.
good. You need sunglasses. Is that light killing you?
I know it is killing me, but I've got something in my eye. My apologies. I'm just completely falling apart for this interview.
Well, you did. Oh, jeez. Oh, my cat was on my lap.
Oh, geez, Lou. Maybe that's what it is. I'm
Think-
allergic to cats.
Jeez, Lou, you did it. You did text me and say, what did you say?
OMG.
OMG, I was in Central Time. I knew it.
Unbelievable.
All right. But it's very interesting. So where can people, like, if you're going to be signing books somewhere, where can people go to find that?
Yeah, ToddStarnes.com, and you can get a signed copy of it. We actually have a mug and book special at ToddStarnes.com, and we'd love for people to check that out. And you can get the book at your favorite bookstore. We're also in Target and Walmart stores around the country as well. So we're
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's big news. Wow. All right. He keeps inviting me places for barbecue. Never happens. I would just like that noted. But now that you're big time and you're in Target and Walmart and stuff, like, I think you can, you can take me for barbecue. Just saying.
Absolutely.
All right. I just have to go to Memphis to get it, or Nashville, right? Memphis.
Come on,
right.
Come on, Mary, Nash Vegas. That's been overrun by the Californians. You got to come on down to the 901.
Ever since the whole Cowboy Carter thing started, it got really, really big.
Music, by the way. It is not country music.
No, I agree. But country has really become rock. Country has really become the new rock. What used to be country is now bluegrass.
You know what it is? When the country music guys started wearing concealer, it was all over. It was
funny. Everything you're on camera all the time now. You got to do what you got to do. Welcome to our world. We've been living like this for generations. Welcome to our world. Porchview Farm says DC woman keeps calling animal control because my beagle's loud and wants to go into the stores with me. Hounds are loud. Oh, look, here's a compliment. Rebecca says, I think Todd Starnes sounds very familiar to the late, great Paul Harvey.
Well, thank you, Rebecca. Paul Harvey.
Yeah.
Good day.
Yitzhak says, how about Adams drops out of the race in New York? Because we were talking about Ma'am Denny. What the hell's the guy's name? Ma'am Dammy? Ma'am Danny, right? Can't remember. Yitzhak, how about Adams drops out, gets a Trump job, and everyone backs Curtis? Why surrender? I got to tell you, I'm not a Curtis Lewa fan.
Look, I mean, I like Curtis Lewa and I respect what he's done, but I mean, he got crushed in a landslide the last time he ran for mayor.
That's exactly. He hasn't won. I think it should be the opposite. I think Curtis, they're not going to vote for a Republican. People will not vote for him just because he has an R after his name. He's got to drop out and endorse Adams. That's the best you're going to do in New York right now. And Adams has started to see the light on some stuff because malicious prosecution will do that to a guy.
and by the way, and you know, we're pretty hospitable down here in the South, but I just got news. We're full. Sorry, New York City refugees, we're full. Head to Alabama. You'll love Huntsville.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is they're kind of passing New Jersey now. Some of them are still stopping here, but they're kind of passing New Jersey. They started going to Pennsylvania years ago because you can shoot out Route 80 and get to Manhattan. But with everybody working remotely and no one wanting to die in Manhattan just for a job, they're starting to go to like Delaware. Delaware is getting overrun now. They'll skip Maryland because Maryland's already blue. So they've already done that job. And then they'll go, they're almost turned North Carolina blue. They've almost flipped North Carolina. They're working on that. And then it'll be South Carolina. I think Florida will be the bulwark, you know, like that'll be the one that they can't flip blue, but they'll try. They'll give it a good shot.
Yeah, and they've been pretty successful in North Carolina, and it really has been, I think, a wake-up call. You know, look at what happened in Georgia, which is still a red state, but they really screwed up their Senate races, and now they got you know, two de facto communists representing them in the U.S. Senate. So, you know, that's a big problem. Oh, I've got to tell you this. This is terrible. I was on Newsmax, and we had one of the Homeland Security people on today, and we were doing the whole thing on alligator Alcatraz, which I just think is tremendous. And I appreciate the fact that President Trump, who is a gracious man, he's very he's filled with empathy, and he tried to explain to the illegals, if they do escape and they're getting chased by an alligator, they need to zigzag.
Serpentine.
It's great because, you know, I researched this just for the show, Mary. Alligators have a land speed of around 11 miles an hour, but they can't do that for they can't do that for an extended amount of time. So even a fat person like me, if you could just hang in there, you should be able to outrun the gator.
Well, they're good to know. Listen, you live in Florida, that is handy information, but they run straight. They don't do this very well.
Right. You know,
that's the thing.
But
it's kind of like, go ahead.
Here's the thing. So I was just trying to be helpful, and I recommended the Homeland Security person. I said, you know, you guys really ought to think about product placement here. I'm thinking everybody there gets a pair of Crocs, and you get Gatorade. She didn't laugh.
You know what? Internally, she was probably laughing, but no, she can't laugh out loud, right? But she got off the air and she's probably crying. She was laughing so hard, trying to hold that in.
Fair enough.
Yeah. It's like bison. Bison are huge. Like I've seen one close up, like closer than I ever wanted to be to one. But in Yellowstone, go in the winter. If you ever go to Yellowstone, you go in the winter.
Those are mean critters, I think.
They're huge. And they have like teeny tiny brains that just bounce around in that big skull. And the skulls are really thick because they whack each other in the head all the time, right? And they're really, really fast. Like you cannot outrun them. Humans can't. And they got these skinny little legs, and these huge bodies, and their heads are massive. Like the heads are just absolutely massive, and they stink. It was close enough to me to smell it with the guide going, "Don't move, don't look it in the eye." And I'm like, "Don't eyeball it." He's right in front. So I'm like this going, it's looking everywhere but straight ahead. And they can outrun you, which is wild when you think about it.
So interesting thing about Memphis, we actually have a very large urban park called Shelby Farms, not far from where I am. and they actually have a working herd of bison that live
Yep.
in the park.
Yep. They make good burgers too.
Tasty. Ted
Yeah,
Turner.
they are low in fat and low in cholesterol as well and high in protein. So, yeah. Herman Sal says, I'm probably mistaken, but I think the majority of New York Dems will support Mamdani come election time in a desperate attempt to stay in power in New York. You're right. And then they'll leave. Yitzhak says, Muslims are Islamists and Islamists are Muslims. I don't think all of them are. Sue says, I missed last week's show, going to watch it later. It is a very good show. It was just, if you're interested in this, he's super smart and super into, like, knows the ins and outs and knows like the different sects and the this and the that. It was just fascinating, I thought, to listen to. Mandami speaks with more than one accent. He's a dramatic actor, kind of like Hillary and Kamala and AOC did it. Remember when she go, what was that thing she said? She go, hold on, hold on, hold on. Wasn't that what she was doing that time when she had to go, okay, okay, okay. And I was like,
Okay,
what the hell?
I hear you.
That's what she was pulling. I don't know what the heck accent she was using. She goes, okay, okay, okay. Sal says, well, maybe there's a hood in Westchester.
If y'all want some hood, come on down to Memphis. We'll get you hooked up.
AOC, yeah. AOC won a science fair award in Yorktown High. Yeah, she went to public school for high school, but she did go to private school when she was younger. It's a nice touch that Mamdani eats with his hands because he's demonstrating that he is culturally in touch with South Asian voters. Did you see that video of him eating with his hands, eating the rice?
Yeah, I saw that. And now my only question is, so is it now xenophobic for us to use a knife and fork?
Probably. It's very white of you, Todd.
Yeah.
It's very culturally insensitive. Here's the thing, dude, I'm sorry. I've seen people eat with their hands. I've seen them eat rice in many a movie and television show. I've never seen someone do it in person, but they managed to get most of the food in their mouth. His was going everywhere. He does not do that all the time. That was a put on. It was just another role that he was playing. I don't buy it for a hot second. Excuse me. But if you criticize him, you're racist. You know, that's the thing. You're racist.
Yeah.
He's Indian. He's just going back to his Indian roots. I'm like, well, I think he's too used to eating with a gold-plated spoon because he got more in the bowl than he got on his plate. So, Yitzhak wants to know if your rug says made in Patterson.
I think it's Islamabad, but close.
He couldn't understand why it was on sale.
I couldn't figure it out. It was on sale at Macy's. The guy kept telling me, we can't unload this thing, man. It's a good looking rug.
Did you ever go back and tell Macy's about it?
No, I didn't. And I guess I should have, but, and I didn't even notice it until about a year and a half later. And someone was looking at the rug and said, oh, there's writing here and it looks Islamic. And then they said, oh my God, you bought an Islamic prayer rug.
Did you put a piece of furniture over that part of the writing?
It's too big. It's too big, Mary. It's too big.
Like a love seat, an ottoman.
I don't know why, but every time I have pork barbecue on the rug, I get indigestion, and it could be a sign. I mean,
there you go.
It's not
stalking you. Yitzhak says, Todd, do you write kids' books? And if so, ever do an author illustrator event at schools? We did that when my kids were in elementary school. Fantastic experience.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm putting together a draft children's series, and it's gonna take a look at people. The first three are going to be Ronald Reagan, Billy Graham, and Clarence Thomas. But I'm telling their stories as teenagers from their teenage experiences. And Ronald Reagan was a lifeguard. Billy Graham actually wanted to be a baseball player. And so we're kind of doing a deep dive into that because really there's just not a lot of children's books that really tell the stories of some of our great, conservatives. I was at the bookstore here in Memphis, Mary, and the children's section was filled with children's storybooks about AOC, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Sonia Sotomayor, but there was there were no books about, conservative icons.
I love that. That's a great idea. That's a fantastic idea.
Great question.
Yeah. let's see. Herman says, Herman says that your rug could have been made in Minneapolis. The mayor's learned Somalian and waves the Somali flag to address constituents.
Ah.
Yitzhak wants to know what's on your wall. Are those Art Deco posters? Are they real or are they like reproductions?
Yeah, no, they're real. And then I have a couple of Thomas Kincaids too.
My godmother loved Thomas Kincaid. There was Thomas Kincaid stuff all over her house. All over her house. Like it was everywhere. I think it's I'm not a huge fan, but I think in small doses, it's like anything's okay in small doses.
Right.
There was a lot.
I have one of a Mississippi River riverboat, a Thomas Kincaid. And so it's kind of Southern, you know.
No, I can, like I said, I think you can find a piece that you really like, and then that's cool.
Yeah.
But if it's, especially around Christmas, it was crazy. Gregory says, when you're working with another author, do you finish each other's sentences? How does it work between you and Ms. Cox?
Okay, so this
is a great question.
It's a great question. And so we sort of divide it up, and she'll write half, I'll write half. And with devotions, they're sort of compact. So, you know, we do that. It was funny, though, and we were really struggling with what to do with this one particular issue because Michelle is married and has, I think, 7 or 8 grandkids. And they asked me to do the audiobook. So my publisher wanted me to voice the audiobook. So there will be multiple times when I'm saying my husband, Paul, which is really not my husband, Paul, but it's her husband, but
husband,
I read it verbatim. So I'm sure Media Eye will have a field day. But yeah,
that's funny.
We do have sort of the same writing style. So it's a terrific question.
Yeah, that's good. We're getting really good questions. These guys are great. Rob Dog says, make sure everyone hits that rumble. Yes, thank you so much, Rob Dog. I appreciate that. Yitzhak wants to know, are your mugs and books made in America? He said, when Roger Stone did an event at our 55 community here in Florida, do you live in the Villages? Ooh, Villages is like, bam, chicka, wow, wow. He said, I saw the boxes from the books he sold and they were printed in China.
You know, that's a good question. My publisher is Simon and Schuster, so they're a New York-based publishing company, and I think the books are made here in America. And I'll have to check on the mugs. I do know that we're getting some new merch, and we've stressed that we want everything made here in the USA. So I hope that answers the question.
It's hard. It's sometimes really hard to get things made in the US. You can get the book or the mug made in the USA, but instead of the mug being $5, the mug's going to be $25.
Exactly.
That's part of the problem.
And t-shirts especially, it's, you know, the costs are just, but again, you know, we want to be able to do that. But again, when people say, why does it cost so much? Well, that's the reason why.
Yeah. Now Tax USA has an interesting, this is another guy's a great guest. The reason we have candidates like Ma'am Damn Us, is Republicans don't want to fight back with compelling, easy to understand, better policies and legislation.
Yeah. Well, look, let me give you if I can give you an example. And you mentioned Curtis Sliwa. He and I were on Newsmax, and he was on the segment before mine. And again, I like Curtis Sliwa. I got no problems with the guy. I just don't think he can get elected. But for him, he said one of the biggest issues on the minds of voters was animal cruelty, you know, and animal welfare. And I'm like, okay, I mean, I like animals, but really, is that the most pressing issue? I mean, you've got the other guy, you know, saying we're going to shut down, defund the police department, and you've got a massive crime wave over the city. And I understand I love Fluffy as the next person, but you know, I want my grandma to be able to walk down the street without getting mugged. So, again, I just I think there's a point to that to now Tax USA, and it's a fair point. We're just not doing a good job getting the messaging out.
Yeah. When we get off the air, I'll call you. I've got a Curtis story to tell you.
Uh-oh.
Not good.
Oh, geez.
Yitzhak says, Florida's congested now. Roads are like New York City at rush hour and no one uses their turn signal. That's because they're all from New York. You have to understand we have the same problem here. Nobody can drive, especially in the summer. We lost Todd, especially in the summer, because New Yorkers don't drive. New Yorkers don't drive. They may have a car. What they usually do is I watched a guy on the main street in front of my house, which is a double yellow. in either direction, right? No turning. It's straight. Now you got the ocean on one side and houses, so it's straight and narrow and straight. And I watched this guy double yellow because he missed the turn. So instead of like going down to the next street and going around the block and coming back, he just pulled a Yui in the middle of over the double yellow line, Massachusetts plates. And I'm like, it's a New Yorker in a rental car. That's what they do because they don't normally drive. So they have driver's licenses and they only drive when they're coming down the shore, they're going out to the Hamptons or whatever. And they drive like crap because they don't know the rules of the road and they just go and they'll figure it out later. And 9 times out of 10, they don't get popped for it. So it doesn't matter to them, you know?
You know, we've just got here in the South, the roundabouts. Are you guys familiar with the roundabouts?
Yeah, we call them circles. We call them circles.
Circles? Oh, we call them roundabouts here. The
It's a
problem,
very British roundabout thing. That's very British.
we don't know how to drive normally down here. And so now we've got to go around in the circle. But the one in Nashville is the most egregious because in the middle of the roundabout, they erected this, I don't know, 30 or 40 foot tall statue of a anatomically correct naked woman. And so they've had more accidents in this roundabout. It's a little distracting.
Okay. I have a great circle story from when I was a kid, but let me just get to this. Let's see. They zoom in and out of traffic in a hurry and get nowhere fast, according to Oreo. Yitzhak, you know this. Serpentine Shelley. Do you know what that's from?
No.
Go back in Serpentine, the movie with Peter Falk, the guy who played Columbo, and Walter Matthau.
Oh,
and they were the in-laws. It was called the In-Laws. And it was Alan Arden.
Was it Alan Arden?
Oh, hold on, the In-Laws. I got to figure out who was in it. It's hilarious. If you've not seen this movie, Peter Falk and Walter Matthau. And Peter Falk, it turns out, is not really a whatever salesman he tells his family is. He turns out he's an agent for the government. He's a spy, and he gets what? Oh, Alan Arkin. It wasn't Walter Matthau. It was Alan Arkin and Peter Falk. Okay, my husband's yelling at me. Alan Arkin. So it's such a hilarious movie, but he tells him, go back in Serpentine, Shelley, because he's supposedly a dentist. And again, his name's Shelley. It's hilarious. It's such a great movie. You really should watch it. It's so funny. Ori says I'm an expat here. I'm cursing, hating drivers down here. I went to Gator World years ago, and one of the staff told me that a gator can run as fast as a racehorse for something like a minute or so. I also had some gator meat. Not bad. Gator case. Go ahead.
It does taste like chicken. I had some in the French Quarter in New Orleans at the French market, and it tastes like chicken.
Yep. See, it's a person next to my farms. Oh, okay. Here. Let's see. Shore Essentials, who lives south of me at the shore, went to school together. In our neck of New Jersey, all the PA license plates have been overwhelmed by New York license tags the last few years. They found it during COVID. We used to be Shooby infested. Now the Bennies are giving the Shoobs a run for their money. If you know, you know. I know. AOC has. I'm sorry?
Shoobies. Those are the people from Pennsylvania, right, that come to the Jersey Shore. Is that right?
Right. Now look at here's the back of my shirt. Did you see this?
Oh my gosh.
Do you know what that means, Benny? Go home?
No, I don't know what that means.
Okay, so when you're at the North Jersey shore, but when I say North Jersey, really the shore really starts in Central Jersey, like Sandy Hook South. So to about Ocean County, which is just south of Manasquan with the big inlet, where the state goes like that in the middle. North of there, it's almost always New Yorkers. And so, or North Jersey, and we call them Bennies because it used to stand for the train stops on the way home, Bayonne, Elizabeth, Newark, New York. So BENNY. Now we call them Bennies just because they come for the benefits and don't pay any of the taxes or clean anything up after themselves, and they just trash it. So
that makes sense.
So it's not, if someone calls you a Benny, it's not a nice thing.
Oh.
I wore this in a store in the summer once, which my husband won't let me go into this store anymore. And because I get in fights when I go there. And so I had this shirt on, and this woman comes up to me. She goes, I don't get it. What's a Benny? What's a Benny? I saw your shirt. What's a Benny? What does that mean? I stay in New Jersey, you stay in New York. I go, oh, you don't know what a Benny is? She goes, no. I go, well, then you are one.
Wow. That's hard.
just walked away. I want them to think that it's not hospitable and they'll go home. Okay. Suze says, we were talking about eating the rice. I use a fork to eat Chinese. Chopsticks are tough. I can do that.
That's xenophobic, Sue.
Macy's with a jihad rug. Excellent.
But
They say AOC. AOC was invented by a PR firm called Tandem. They gave her a video camera and sent her to the water protest out west for training. That was her audition. I've heard that. Have you heard? Do you know if that's true? I've heard that.
We're going to look into that.
Okay. You got a team. I don't have a team. He's got news people in like a team. Yitzhak loves your idea for the kids' books on patriots and honorable people. That's fantastic. Porchview says that's inside information. Watching your back says he's moving here. Okay. No, Yitzhak lives in Coconut Creek. He doesn't live in the villages. You know what's going on in the villages. Have you heard about that place?
Yeah.
I remember, like, wasn't it like the 80s when they had, or the 90s where they had the commercials to move to the villages?
America's friendliest hometown.
America's friendliest hometown. Remember that? The villages, America's friendliest hometown. And they're all golf and everything. They're also apparently doing a lot of bound chicka wow wow down there. And they have a super high STD rate because they think they can't get pregnant, so they don't need protection. But instead, like, kids have to have talks with mom and dad now about gonorrhea and things like that. And how like awkward is that conversation? Mom, we got to have a talk.
Yeah.
So that's going on. I love watching you get uncomfortable.
Well, I was saying America's horniest hometown. It's
Oh, is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, we don't judge. We don't judge here.
No, we just did. Rob Dog 51 says political correctness has killed this country and politicians are afraid to speak bluntly. That's so true. Jerry knows what we're talking about with the in-laws. It's a hysterical scene. It is. Let's see. I just want to, I go back with Curtis many years, Ron Kuby, Morano, Peace Law Mob thing, Venn diagrams. Yeah, I'm aware of what Curtis did. He's not 100%. It was a nasty hit. I get it. Yeah, Yitzhak knows what happens between me and Curtis. I assume he read about it. The toughest traffic circles are outside of DC in Arlington, Virginia, next to the National Cemetery. All right, so I'm going to tell you my story. So we in New Jersey have circles, and we used to have a lot of circles. There were a lot of circles in New Jersey. And in New Jersey, technically, a traffic circle was a lawless zone. So we didn't have like yield signs or stop signs. It was local laws, local rules. So where I lived, the big thing was the Somerville Circle. And the Somerville Circle had Route 28, Route 202, 206, and then a local street that came into it. All right. So now if you were on, at one point, 202, 206 was one road. So when that came in to, Doug, was that 202 and 206 that came in together or separate? Whatever. He can't hear me. He's on delay. But anyway, so you came into the circle, and if you were going north-south on the highways, you had right away. The people who were coming in on 28 in the local road there had to stop and yield for you. And everybody in the local area knew that. And every now and then you get somebody from out of state, we go, boom, right? Because they wouldn't stop coming into the circle. Okay, so they came in together from the north and they separated going out to the south. So 202 and 206 came in together. One went one way, one went this way. 28 was this way, and then the local street. So it was just local. So when we were kids, in order to pass your driver's license exam, and Shore Essentials will understand this because we all had to do driver's ed. And I had the football coach, Coach Greiner was my driver's ed coach. So he'd pick you up at like 7:00 in the morning in the car, and then, pick up the other kids and we'd all go. You had to drive around the Somerville Circle to pass your driver's ed class, right? So, and my mother knew every way around the Somerville Circle. She wouldn't drive it. So we stop, and before I go into the circle, and I'll never forget this as long as I live, and the man is dead, God rest his soul, looks at me, he goes, and he looks me dead in the eye, and he goes, whatever you do, do not stop. Just keep going. Don't stop. Yeah. Just go. And we got so adept at driving the circle. There was a little restaurant. We didn't have McDonald's or anything like that, but we had a little restaurant called Mr. B's. And that was our version of fast food. And a man and woman ran it. And it was the closest we got to fast food, but they handmade everything, great shakes, all this stuff. And they had a kid in this huge giant bee costume. And he was from our rival high school. So we would go round and round and round the circle throwing stuff at him, right? That's what we did, just going round and round the circle. But they finally took it out because so many people were getting hit and killed on the circle because they didn't know how to drive it. So now there's an overpass with what's left of the circle underneath. So long story short, they took all the circles out in New Jersey. Like they started taking them all out. They're too dangerous, blah, blah, blah. And guess what they're doing now? So that we had the circles back in the 70s and 80s, and they started to take them out. They took them out in the 90s. And guess what they're doing now? Putting the circles back.
Well, of course.
They were just easier to, they're better for traffic flow.
We had when I was in high school, and drivers said Mr. Robisky was our driver's ed. He loved Popeye's fried chicken and biscuits. And so the first thing I ever learned how to do was to navigate through the drive-through at Popeye's fried chicken.
I've never been to Popeye's ever.
Oh, it's a cultural experience. You got to go.
I know where there's one, but we've never gone to it.
Yeah. I'm a Bojangles guy myself. I like Bojangles.
We don't have those here either.
Wow. Biscuitville?
No.
Biscuitville either. Okay.
Not a lot of chains. When you get up in this area, it's not a lot of chains. Everything's small little restaurants. You know, it's not a lot of chains going on.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Sal says, my sometimes better half and I went to Nashville last year and really enjoyed the people, honky tonk, and the people. The people, the honky tonk, the people.
Nashville's a fine town, but being from Memphis, we there's just a natural hatred of the two cities. So it's in the deal.
Absolutely. Stag says double stuffed Oreos should be called Oreos, and regular Oreos should be called diet Oreos. I agree. You have to buy the mega stuff now. The mega stuff we have this conversation every summer when we go on vacation because we go up to Lake George and we go to Walmart. It's the one time we buy Oreos, one time a year. And you got to buy the mega stuff because the double stuff is what the Oreos used to be stuffed with. And now the mega stuff is what a double stuff Oreo used to be. 100%.
We're trying to find out who created the watermelon flavored Oreos, and we're going to turn those people into ice. They should be deported.
That's disgusting.
Terrible.
Why is there such a, I don't like watermelon to begin with, but the best ones they ever made, they made a cappuccino one. It was so good. It was so good. And they discontinued it. It was amazing. Stag, the moment the FBI and the IRS announced that they're investigating whoever's funding the riots just stopped, just like that. It's weird how that works.
Go figure.
Rob Dog says, I don't eat Oreos because you can't burn them with a torch. We are all over the place. Here you go. Herman says,
no, wait. Is that true? Is that true though? Because I've seen that video. They really don't burn.
Oh, it's a thing?
It's a thing, yes. They're saying that you can take a torch to an Oreo and it will not burn.
Get out. Well, you know what the magical, delicious cream inside an Oreo is? It's literally lard and sugar.
Oh, really? Oh, well.
If you want to make your own Oreos, it's lard and sugar. And it's delicious. Look at this. Hermit Sal says, I used to listen to Ben Dieter on KWAM. I think he was great. I miss his morning show.
Well, we do too. He got hired away by one of our congressmen. He took a pay cut to go work up on Capitol Hill. I don't get it, but we're really proud of him. And he's doing a great job. As a matter of fact, we had dinner at the Capitol Grill when I was there last weekend. Mary, we were going to go in just to catch up, have a nice quiet dinner. Sat down literally right next to me at the Capitol Grill, Jim Banks, Ted Cruz, and the senator from Pennsylvania. And then at the next
Fetterman? Wait, they were with Fetterman?
No, not Fetterman, the other guy, and whose name the Republican. And then next to it was Katie Britt from Alabama, and she and Dieter were taking selfies together. So it was a fun night.
Wow, look at, and he was so used to riding on your coattails with everybody and look at that.
Oh, I'm riding on his now. Yeah, he's a great kid, great guy.
That's funny. Oh, Sal, Curtis needs to apologize to you. Yes, he does, but it's never going to happen. You really want to know what it is now,
No,
don't you?
I heard this story. You told me this story, actually. I remember.
Okay, so you know that. You know the
Yeah.
story. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he needs to drop out of the race. Just saying.
I hear you.
Yep. George's Shore Essentials came in at 202 and separated. Rob, he's on delay. I thought they were in the same house. Ha ha. Curtis talked about it. Stupid move on his part. He did? He did? Yitzhak, you need to send me a note. Like, did he talk about it on the air after everything happened? That's what I want to know. The things you find out about. Okay. So Rob says, Mary, you ain't missing much. Not a fan of Popeyes.
Wait, what? Mary, I used to work at Popeyes when that was my first real job in high school. I was the biscuit maker. I got to be the nerd in the little glass case that made the biscuits.
Wait, they put you in I've never been in one. They put you in a case to watch you make the biscuits?
They used to back in the day. We had to wear these orange polyester uniforms. And I was the biscuit
Do
maker.
you have a picture? Wait, is there a picture of this?
I'll check and see. There may be. I don't know. That was a great job.
So I didn't even know Popeyes existed before a couple of years ago.
Oh yeah, it was so. Let me put it this way: it was so huge, and because my dad got transferred to New Orleans when I was a kid, right outside of New Orleans, we lived in the burbs, and it actually put Kentucky Fried Chicken out of business in the New Orleans area because people would always either go there or to Church's Fried Chicken.
Yeah, I don't even know where there's a Kentucky Fried Chicken around here.
Yeah.
We just got a Chick-fil-A. We just got that about 2 years ago.
The official chicken of our Lord. Yes.
Yes. I haven't been in it, but I went to the first one in DC. They took me when I was doing the morning show there. The morning crew took me out. We're like, you have never been to Chick-fil-A? I'm like, no, what's the big deal? It's a chicken restaurant. No, you gotta go. It's like, okay. And I will say the biscuit, like the thing you get in the morning, which is the biscuit with the honey and the chicken, it's good.
Yeah.
But I don't feel I need to go back.
I never could figure out why the lesbian, the gays and the lesbians, they always took issue with Chick-fil-A. I never understood why they had such a problem with a plump, juicy breast tucked between hot buttered buns. I never could understand that, Mary Walter.
Look at you getting all rowdy tonight, Todd. I love this.
It's after hours.
I love this version of Todd's. Do you have bourbon? Are you drinking?
Not yet.
Okay, try this. Off on a little bit of a tangent. My favorite drink right now, it's my new drink. It's my favorite drink. Peach flavored bourbon in lemonade.
Really?
So good.
So I've been working
good.
I've been working through a 6-pack of Dr. Pepper. And let me tell you about this. I know you frown. I saw an interview about 6 months ago, and there was a woman. She was like over 100 years old. They sat down and interviewed the woman. They said, what is the secret to longevity? And she said that she drank 3 Dr. Peppers a day. And the reporter was like, well, didn't your doctors tell you that was unhealthy? She goes, I had 3 doctors tell me it was unhealthy, and all 3 of them are dead, and I'm still alive. Like, all right, there's something to that.
Yeah, I guess I don't like it. That also was not, let's see, I don't think Dr. Pepper made it up here until like the 80s. We didn't have Dr. Pepper up here either until the 80s. So, Todd, oh my gosh, look at the time. I always have so much fun when you come on. I always have so much fun when you come on. A woman is speaking out to people about what happened to her in Disney World. She told people that she and her husband decided to just spontaneously visit Epcot on Sunday, June 1st, because everybody just decides to spontaneously spend a couple grand to go to Disney for the day. And she said she was left feeling embarrassed and put on the spot by a Disney employee. It was her husband's first time at Disney and her first visit since she was very young. She said they were both let into the park without any issues. They were genuinely excited to spend the day exploring. They had day passes and they were rushing around trying to make the most of it, because if you got a day pass, you're like running to get to everything because you got to get your money's worth, because it's like $6,000. So during their day, they accidentally waited on the wrong line because they thought they were going on the frozen line, but they realized they were waiting for a meet and greet. So they promptly headed to the correct line. They went to the ride's correct line and waited for about an hour. An hour. It's insane. Do you know if you're in a wheelchair, they let you right to the front of the line? I went once when I had a broken foot, right to the front of the line for everything. Yeah. I was in a wheelchair through Disney. Let you go through. Then she says, along the way, we passed several employees, smiled, welcomed us without any issue. Everything was going smoothly till we finally get to the front of the line. And a ride attendant told her that she was improperly dressed and they would not allow her to get on the ride because she was wearing black leggings and a white padded sports bra, which is similar, she says, like to a crop top, because sports bras now kind of look like a top. They come down a little bit lower. I was genuinely shocked. She said her husband immediately defended her. She said it was certainly not anything more revealing than what many other guests were wearing. The employee suggested I leave the line to purchase a t-shirt from a nearby merch store and return to ride afterwards. She had to buy a $45 plain sleeveless tank top because there weren't a lot of options. They got back to the line. The manager said they should never have been stopped at the front of the line. But they didn't compensate us or do anything for us. I felt brushed off, even though it was pretty unfair. What do you think? Do you think that I got to say, everybody is wearing, we went from like dressing nicely to going everywhere in jeans. And now everything, especially for women, is leggings and workout tops, crop tops, sports bras, right? That's what it is for everything. But I also see, I'll see women dressed somewhat nicely and the guy's got on shorts and a t-shirt.
Yeah, I just don't get that. I'm sort of old school, and here in the South, we sort of dress up for everything, and even when we're casual, we're still sort of dressed up. Yeah, look, I don't have a problem with what she was wearing. I mean, if it was an issue with Disney, they could have stopped her when they walked into the park. That doesn't make any sense to me. But the thing that gets me, though, is that, all right, fine, this happened. Okay, but it's not like the end of the world. It's not like, you were, I don't know, kicked out of the park. I mean, I get it, but it's just like everybody gets upset about everything these days.
Well, I got to tell you, what it costs to get to Disney for a day, what it costs for a day pass, and you stand in line for an hour, and just as you're getting ready to go on the ride, they tell you, you got to go over there, and you got to stand in line. You have to buy a $45 t-shirt because everything at Disney is 18 times more than what it really costs, right? You got to buy a $45 t-shirt, and then she gets back to the ride and they're like, oh yeah, they never should have kicked you out. That would tick me off because now it's time that I'm not spending waiting on another line for a ride that I spent over there. And they didn't give me my $45 back for the t-shirt that they made me buy.
Here's what
for the amount of money that you give them, that $45, that would buy you like a hot dog. So
here's what gets me. I had to give a speech over at Disneyland, and the conference, they're having the event at the conference center at the Grand California. And so they gave me a pass to go wander around Disneyland. And they were going to put me up for a nice, relaxing weekend at the Grand California, which is a beautiful Bavarian style hotel. These huge oak doors, like 14 feet tall. So the two guys open up, and it's so peaceful. They open up those doors. It was like Chuck E. Cheese on crack cocaine in there. The children bouncing all over the place. But worse than the children, you had the grown adults. I actually saw more grown adults at Disneyland than actual children. And the grown adults, and I don't mean to stereotype, were about 500 or 600 pounds, and they were all like teetering on these little motorized scooters wearing the mouse ears. And I'm like, how are these people going to get on the rides? How are they able to enjoy themselves? And I just don't understand that. But anyway, again, I don't judge. I'm just an observer of the culture.
You're just asking questions. You're just asking questions, Todd. That's all that's happening. I don't understand these adults who are so into Disney. I was watching a video, maybe it was a podcast, and there's like the woman's in her kitchen, there's like a Disney clock. I'm like, really? How old are you? Like, when I was a kid, our world was not Disney centric. I'm sure the same for you. Your world was not Disney centric at all. And my parents were like, I remember my dad would bring home, I think I still probably have it. I wanted, if you wanted to see the movie, you had to go to the movie theater and things like that. You couldn't buy the DVD or all that stuff. But I wanted, they had a Disney album out and I wanted it so badly. But this was back in the day when they would give you stuff at the gas station. So I had to be like 4. And my dad came home one day with like the K-Tel version of the Disney album. Right. And it had all the good songs like from, Bippity Boppity Boo and, all of the good songs from the classic Disney movies that were big when I was a kid. And I was thrilled because I got this album and it had a purple album cover. And I don't think it was the real Disney stuff. I think, like I said, I think I still have it. I could probably go look. But that was like to this day, that was one of like the best gifts I ever got because I was so excited. But we didn't have, my parents weren't taking us to Disney either. They would be like, when you're old enough to pay for it, feel free to go. But we're not taking you to Disney. It's not happening. We're not going. And these adults who live for Disney watches on these adults and the this and the that to me is just a huge red flag. Like if I were single and I'm dating a guy who's got a Disney watch on, I'm like, I'm really sorry, but this isn't going to work. Like I can't date a grown man with a Mickey watch on. I don't care if it's worth, gazillions of dollars. It's just not happening.
Can I tell you, I went to the breakfast buffet and that was a horror show. And so I'm sitting there trying to eat my freaking breakfast in peace at Disneyland. All of a sudden the lights start pulsating and the announcer says, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for, the Chip and Dale review. And I'm like, what the hell kind of a place is this at Disneyland? And I don't know what was happening. And the next thing you know, these two big old furry critters come out. They're like beavers or something. And
they're chipmunks. They're chipmunks, Chip and Dale.
Oh, is it? Oh, well, that makes sense now. Okay. But so I just put my.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
I really thought about that. I'm putting my head down. I'm like, do not, because they were going over and they were dancing with people. I'm like, leave me alone. I'm just trying to eat my eggs. And the next thing you know, sure enough, there's a furry little paws. I don't know where the paw's been. And they asked me to get up and, do something. I don't know, wave or dance or something. And I'm like, just leave me be. My staff, I'm like the get off the lawn guy at Disneyland. And I just wanted to eat my eggs in peace.
Well, the funny thing is when we went with Doug's my sister-in-law and her husband. And we were, and he lived in a different decimal place than I'll ever live in. Okay. And flew his own plane. And so we were at Disney. We were supposed to be like a 5-day pass. And after 4 days, we had enough of the happiest place on earth. So we left early and went to Key West. And that was the end of that.
A horrible, and I think I'm a horrible person because I had a horrible time at the happiest place on earth.
Yes. Oh, okay. So here's what Yitzhak said. He said, Todd is a great guest. And he said, Curtis, before he submitted to run, was always bragging about how he was running the Curtis School of Broadcasting, mentoring the newbies, getting them up to snuff for radio. And he said he made a new host cancel a woman of no consequence for his or her substitute. I knew it was you immediately because you mentioned you were subbing for him or her. I forget who you were sub for. Yeah, he always uses the of no consequence when he seeks to knock down a person. I don't like that. That was probably the part of the same night when he. Yeah, part of the same thing. Thank you, Yitzhak. I appreciate it. Honey, so glad the show is on Rumble now. So am I. Rob says he never ate at Popeyes till he came to Pittsburgh. Rebecca says, Todd Starnes is hilarious. I love it. Well, you can catch Todd on N2, which is on YouTube. You can watch it for free on YouTube. And what time is your show on? I always get it confused.
It's
4 o'clock?
5 o'clock Eastern.
Okay. Yeah, now all of a sudden Eastern. 5 o'clock Eastern.
Wow.
And you can catch him on KWAM, and it's nationally syndicated from noon to 3. And if you want to, you can go look for KWAM online. You can listen to our which app? It's on TalkStream Live, right? It's on iHeart.
Yeah, it's on iHeart, all the streams. You can watch us. You can watch us on YouTube or Rumble. But if you go to ToddStarnes.com, you can get links to all of our platforms there.
Okay, that's what I'm going to do. And I'll put all of that whenever I post the videos, whenever I post the links to the podcast. I'll do it tomorrow and I'll do it again on Friday. I probably usually do it 2 or 3 times with different cuts in it because now I can do the cuts in it. So it's so much nicer. It's so much high tech. I always put if you go to YouTube, where you go to StreamYard, you'll see all of the links that I'll put there for you. And you can follow him. He's on all the socials at Todd Starnes because apparently there's only one. So it's super easy. Yeah. Oh, look at this. A new whiskey rage, Squirrel Peanut Butter Whiskey. I got news for you. It ain't new. Peanut butter whiskey is not new. It's great. It's really good. We've been drinking peanut butter whiskey for years. Have you had it?
Can't say I've had that.
It's good. It's really good. Like, it sounds disgusting, but it's actually really good. The one we get is called Screwball.
We have a great distillery here called Old Dominic's. They've been around since just I guess after the turn of the last century, and they do some good Tennessee sipping whiskey.
My favorite sipping, I like a weeded bourbon. My favorite sipping, well, it depends. If I've come into a lot of money or win the lottery, I like Blanton's. Blanton's is my favorite, shockingly made by Buffalo Trace, which I was really surprised. But Blanton's to me is like, man, yeah, Blanton's is good, but it's like $200 a bottle. So
You know who you need to get on the show if you're going to talk bourbon and all that kind of is Tony Katz over at in Indianapolis. He's got that bourbon show on the weekends.
well, I know it because whenever we go to an event, remember when we were at Barrett News Media Summit? Remember we were there? We're all sitting outside. Here we are. We're outside this hotel, which used to be a dorm. I get with for George Washington University, right? It was a dorm, right? And tiny rooms, and there's no inside. There's like a bar, but they didn't have a bartender, and they can't sell you anything because someone has only the manager's license to. I don't know. It was all stuff. So I got Greg Stocker from PHT, who's the PD at PHT, ran out and got beer. And Tony Katz comes with all of his bourbon, boom, and puts it on this table. So here are all these radio dorks, all of us little dorky radio people sitting right outside like the front door of the hotel where there were like one or two tables. And everybody's just drinking and talking and being super dorky and talking about politics and this and that. And there's Tony and he had cigars too. Tony with his bourbon and his cigars. He travels in style. I got to give it to him. I love Porchview loves Maker's Mark. The other good sipping bourbon, I think that if you which is much more budget friendly, is Old Forester's 1920 Prohibition blend.
Oh,
it's very nice. It's very nice. I like this. Stag says, "Be the reason someone smiles today or blocks you, whatever." Here you go. Scott says, "The CEO of a company I used to work for used to claim that he ate or somebody ate a Reese's cup every day and lived a long life." Hermit Sal says, "America needs more sports bras." Here's one. I see people wearing PJs. This is so true. The very, very young members of society, like the late teens, early 20s crew, I see them wearing like fleece pajama pants with slippers. Come on.
America.
I'm sorry?
Wear pants, America. That's somebody's campaign slogan. It ought to be.
I like that. Yeah, no, I texted back the ones like Grammar used to make. Oh, a friend texted and said they made some synonym roll. I texted back and said the ones like Grammar used to make. I got blocked.
Now that's funny right there.
That's very funny. Rebecca says, "Mary, you made my evening having Todd Starnes on. Hilarious." Okay. Did Todd ever try to channel his inner Faulkner?
Well,
not Harris.
No, not Harris. No, this is William. No, fortunately, I did not. Otherwise, I'd be on somebody's prayer list. But it is funny. There's a great picture of me down in Oxford, and they've got a beautiful, that's like Faulkner land. And they've got a statue of William Faulkner sitting on a park bench there in downtown. And I've got a photograph with me hanging out with the statue of William Faulkner. But
wow.
If you're ever going to go to the South, you got to go to Oxford. It is a quintessential Southern town. Square Books, one of the best independent bookstores in America. And you'll love this, Mary. They've got cats that just kind of wander around the bookstore. So,
that would make that's nice. I like that.
Really nice.
Sue said, "I did my parental duty. Went once to Disney. Wasn't impressed." Rebecca's out. We're wrapping up here, kids. We're running late. Hermit says, "KWAM is a good station." Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Be well, Mary. See you PHT on Thursday. Yes, the old whiskey range. All right, Todd, great show. Grandson, Grandpa, what was the 80s like? Me. We had dudes dressed up like fruit trying to sell us underwear.
we, we also had to go get our parents cigarettes and tab at the store. For anybody
Luckily,
else?
my parents, and I used to have candy cigarettes, but with a little red on the end of them. They
Oh
give them
yeah.
out at Halloween.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Look at this. Sue says when they went to Disney, it was close to 10 grand. We splurged, but it wasn't worth it.
Jeez, Lou.
Quickly, Gregor wants to know if you ever met Jimmy Swaggart.
So funny story. Yes, I did, and his sons and grandsons are big followers of mine. But yeah, I did.
Oh,
You know, it was really sad what happened in the 80s and 90s, but you know, he ended up, you know, getting himself sorted out, lived with his wife for, you know, 70 years, and just a good guy. But yeah, Jimmy Swaggart passed away earlier today.
wow. Very interesting. All right. All right. We're out of here, but I will put everything up. But don't forget toddstarnes.com. All right. Don't forget toddstarnes.com. Don't forget to check out all of his books. All right. Everything will be there on his page. You can find him on KWAM. Don't forget his Newsmax show. You're so busy. You're doing everything. And you're probably like, Mary, I want to go eat my dinner right now. I've got some Popeyes waiting for me. So, so I'm going to let you go do that. But thank you so much. Thank you to everyone for liking the show. And Todd, who's anybody good on the show tomorrow? You're not having me on. Who else is on? So you don't have anybody good, but other than that,
Yeah, it's going to be a good show. I don't know what we're doing.
even on?
We should get you on the show.
You know, I'm just joking you. No, thank you so much. I do appreciate you for joining me. Have a great one. All right. Take care, Todd. I'll see you. Bye-bye. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Have a wonderful week. Don't forget, I'm in for Rich Zioli on PHT out of Philadelphia. It's 3 to 7 p.m. Eastern time on, like I said, on PHT. And then the same thing on Monday. And I should be on the Chris Salcedo show on Monday as well, sometime between 4 and 5 p.m. Eastern time. Have a great one. Thank you, everybody. Be well and God bless.